Hey everybody, this is Cromar with TGN, and I'm here today to bring you some more Rift coverage. And today we're looking at the Tier 1 Expert Dungeon, Iron Tombs. This is actually a Defiant side dungeon. It's not on the Guardian side, so I didn't actually cover this in normal mode, but that's okay. Not that important. Maybe I'll cover it in the future, maybe not. But it's like the lowest level dungeon for Defiant, so I'm not worried about it. But as for the Expert version, Iron Tombs is a 6-boss expert. It's very long and has lots and lots and lots of trash. The run I'm showing you here was very smooth. What I'm going to do is just show the bosses only and not spend time on trash, because trash is largely inconsequential. And this will be the format that you'll see for all of my expert dungeon videos, just skipping the trash, going straight to the bosses. So on the side of your screen you're going to see a menu to be able to jump to the different bosses. So if you're only here to see one particular boss, you don't have to just like scroll around and look for it. Just press the link and it'll go straight to it. So anyway, let's move on to the first boss. Broodmother Venoxa. So Broodmother Venoxa is the first boss of Iron Tombs, and this is a new boss. She's not in normal mode. This boss can really be summed up with two things. She's got two strategies. Or two things you got to worry about, rather. She got one spell that you got to line of sight, and she's got ads. And you can actually see eggs in the corner. There's one up there, and some more in the other two corners as well. And periodically throughout the fight, she's going to run over and she's going to break them open. I've also read that you can break them open prematurely if you want, although I don't really know if there's a point for that. We certainly didn't do that and had no problem. So, I mean, most people I talk to don't do it that way. It just seems like it's an option as far as I know. But really, you just do it this way. This is the easy way. As you can see, when she reaches a certain point, she runs over, she emotes. She says, Broodmother Venoxa searches for help, and she runs over and breaks the eggs. And there's your Blood Gut Defender. That's the ad. In addition to that big ad, you get a bunch of small ones, which are really inconsequential. We just kind of knocked them down with AoE. And then focused on the defender, which has to go down pretty quick. As you can see, once all the other little ones are down, I switched from AoE to single target to take this guy out a little faster. But once that's taken care of, that's really all you have to do for that part of the fight. Just make sure you line of sight when she emotes, because she actually hits an AoE poison, which is survivable, but there's no point in putting your healer through that when it's so easy to just line of sight. She also runs to a corner when she does it, so you got to anticipate that. Yeah, she's not going to be sitting in the same spot that she is now. So if you just keep that in mind, it's really, really easy to use the pillars around the room to line of sight, and we did that without anyone getting hit by any of them, with no problem. So as you see, she's running to another corner, and you just run over here to this corner to the pillar, and you don't get hit by the poison, and everything's fine. And okay, then she also casts that little circle, that little orb around herself. See if you get a melee range, but since we had all range DPS, and really every group should have all range DPS, because this game is not melee friendly, then it was a complete non-issue. We just completely ignored it. So really, that's all it is: line of sight, ads, and that bubble. But that doesn't really count. And yeah, as you can see, she's at half, and you've already seen all the mechanics, and they're quite simple. So she is not a hard fight at all. The only challenge to this fight is if you have very poor DPS, you're not able to take out the ads fast enough. And I was talking to our group members, and they had experiences with less DPS groups, and said that that was, a pretty tough challenge to overcome because of the small ads constantly spawning. But honestly, with this group, it was so smooth because everybody here is really awesome. So there was no issue. But yeah, you see, there's another corrosive defender, different kind of defender, and I'm single targeting this one. I actually used a couple of cooldowns on it to get it down faster, and then we're gonna focus the boss after that. For the next one, she's actually going to run to the opposite corner in the top right, and she's actually going to line her sight herself, which was very nice of her to do that for us, so we didn't have to move. It's going to happen in just a moment here. Also, I do believe that those 3 phases where she searches for help and does yeah, see, she just runs around the corner for us. Like, thanks. No, but anyway, when she goes to do the AoE, I believe it's health. It's based on her health. It's not based on time, because she does it 3 times, once for each egg. And so as you can see, breaking the eggs is really, there's no point to it. You can just let her go do it, and there's no issue. And she's almost done. My spec, by the way, because I failed to mention it earlier in the video, is 51 Marksman, 12 Nightblade, and 3 Assassin. And I'm gonna put a title card in the front of it so you see that with the intro. But anyway, it's a single target DPS spec, but it has good AoE also, just not as good as Ranger. And it's one of the highest DPS specs I found. It doesn't rely on a pet, which is a huge liability thanks to bad pet AI and other great things about it. So I really like this spec. I highly endorse it. It's also very easy to play and has lots of great cooldowns to really ramp up your DPS for burn phases. Yep, so that's all she wrote. Caor Ashstone. Caor Ashstone is the second boss of Iron Tombs, and he's extremely easy. He's the easiest boss in here, one of the easiest bosses in all the experts. He's in that pool where they're all so easy, it's hard to even rank them. This guy, I mean, honestly, I kind of feel sorry for him. I mean, he's just, you know, he's a zombie. And he's just chilling out, you know, looking for some brains, and some adventurers come by and kick his ass, and he can't do anything about it. He's helpless. The reason our cleric there just got whacked is because he actually pulled aggro, not because of a boss mechanic. But that's okay. So really, there's only two things that are going on in this fight, and one of them is totally inconsequential, and the other one is not a big deal either. The inconsequential one is the Aura of Decay, and I just moused over it a moment ago, right before I said that. What this does is it stacks up, and it reduces your damage dealt, and you know that's it eventually gets up to the point where you're not dealing damage. But to get rid of it, all you have to do is line of sight it. So there's really nothing to it, and you don't even really need to line of sight it. You can kill this guy before it stacks up that high. But if your DPS is low, or if you're just paranoid like I was a moment ago, then you can just go drop it off. And I didn't even need to drop it, but I did. And then I came back out and popped cooldowns with all of these stacks off, which, you know, made sense at the time. But really, it doesn't matter. But the other mechanic is just a simple debuff on the tank that needs to be cleansed. It'll make the healing easier. But even without that, I mean, look at the tank's health. You're like, oh, look, what was that, a quarter of his life? You know, come on, seriously. Really nothing going on here. So this boss is definitely nap time. I don't even know what else to say. I should just go make a sandwich while I wait for this guy to die. Da-di-da-di-da. Yeah. So. You could probably just fast forward past this part. I mean, the boss is already dead. I should speed it up and put in the Benny Hill theme. I mean, look, he's doing nothing. He's doing absolutely nothing. So Tryon, please, if you're watching this video, and I really hope you are, even though you probably aren't, then please give this poor zombie a buff. Just make his debuff stack up and not ever drop off, so that you actually have a DPS race on your hands. That would be cool. I would like that. Like you rot to death in the presence of the zombie before you can kill him. That would be cool. Epic loot. Not for me though. The Three Kings. The Three Kings are appropriately the third boss of Iron Tombs. This fight actually starts when you kill all three enemies, and then they respawn and you kill them all three at once. So I started the fight, or I started the recording rather, right as the third guy is about to go down, so that you don't have to sit and wait for that, because it is pretty boring. But after he dies, they're all going to respawn and run at you. You can't get out of there. You can't like de-aggro them and you know, met up and pull. Not that you'd need to. As you see, they're going to just run right at you. Now, the order you kill them in is totally up to your group's preference, and some people say to Zerg the Mage down because he dies the fastest. Some people say kill the Warrior because he cleaves a lot and the melee hate that. I say just don't bring any damn melee, but that's just me. But anyway, the way we did it was we killed the Cleric first. He dies pretty quick, and as you can see, there's a lot of damage on the tank during this phase. That's why some people say Zerg the Mage down to spare the tank. But with the Cleric, he does heal himself. You have to interrupt it. I do not have an interrupt on this spec, unfortunately. That's a big drawback to this spec, whereas Ranger does have an interrupt. So I wasn't able to really contribute on that end. Just try to do as much damage as I could. But he does manage to get his Unholy Mending spell cast a few times during this kill. Ultimately, it's okay, though. But God, look, the tank get walloped. Our tank was not super geared, but she was appropriately geared. She had, 50 toughness. So this is what you can expect your tank, your appropriately geared tank for the instance to take. And yeah, it gets whacked a lot, gets knocked back. That's the Warrior doing the knockback, by the way. Almost there, almost there. We got one really key interrupt near the end that made it happen. So yeah, there you go. And after this point, it's not a problem. It's pretty easy. We decided to go for the warrior next because he does a knockback and it's very annoying. You could probably go for the mage second. I think the mage does more damage, but I'm not positive. Either way, once the first one's down, it gets easier. It's one of those fights, you know. Yeah, as you make progress, it gets progressively easier instead of harder like you'd expect. But wow, that tank really got hurt, and the healer was somewhat taxed on mana. And as you see, we had some ads spawn near the end, which was kind of unexpected, and then they just immediately despawned. Bonelord Fetlorn. The Bonelord, number 4 on the list. This is another easy boss. It's all LOS based, and there's really nothing else to it. Just the LOS. So what you're going to do here is set him up between these two pillars, as you can see. The one pillar against the wall, and then the one pillar out more in the middle. And your melee is going to be line of sighting that pillar, and your range is going to be line of sighting this pillar. So it's very easy. Now he has two different attacks you need to line of sight. The most important one is when he says Bonelord needs bones. That causes him to hit you with an AoE that spawns a skeleton, and that's not good. You don't want ads. The ads aren't. I mean, they're not that powerful, but the point is, if you can avoid ads. There's really no need to spawn them. So definitely avoid that because it hurts the whole group. The other thing that he does is when he says he needs blood, or his blood boils, or whatever it is he says, and yeah, that's what he says. His blood boils. Anyway, when he says that, he fears you, and you don't want to get hit by that either. But it's not as big of a deal, because if it fears you, it just annoys you and doesn't really affect the group unless you're like the healer or the tank. Then please don't get feared. And that's the whole fight. It's that simple. So he does here. He goes blood boils, line of sight. I don't know why I put my pedestal out all the way out there, but anyway, back to the fight. So we're DPSing him down. It's not a problem, and just wait for each message and then run around. And one time I actually didn't run around in time, but it didn't matter because the tank, when the tank ran out of line of sight, the boss followed him out of line of sight, and that was really actually really convenient. So I wouldn't bet on that though. That's not obviously not reliable. That's kind of silly. But there goes another blood boil. Run behind the pillar. Run back out. It's that easy. Yeah, Iron Tomb's not a particularly hard expert, as you could probably tell by now. But this guy is not as easy as Caor Ashstone, because nothing is. But you know, this guy at least has a mechanic that you actually have to do something. With Ashstone, you can pretty much just ignore him and just kill him like any kind of trash mob. This guy, you at least have to position him properly. This isn't the only way to position him though. You can actually use one of those two big doors, and you can have everyone just run around the corner there. And you know, that's kind of like what's his name, Chromagus. Remember Chromagus from Blackwing Lair and WoW? If you missed out on that stage of raiding, I feel sorry for you, because I absolutely love Blackwing Lair. It's my favorite raid ever, anywhere, including all the Cataclysm raids. So I love that Chromagus. That's the way you did Chromagus. You tank him in the door, and everybody runs around the corner and stuff like that to avoid his insanely powerful breath. But anyway, enough reminiscing. I mean, talk about the actual fight here, and talk about the game I'm actually playing. I mean, come on. It's just the same deal. You know, you can put them in the doorway and you can run on a corner, or you can just put them behind the pillars. And the pillars work great. I mean, the pillars, we had no problem with the pillars. I don't know why I just stepped off my pedestal and then fired a couple shots there. That didn't make much sense, but I guess I just got discombobulated from the motion. But needs bones, run behind the pillar, run back out, nothing happens. I think the tank said that she got hit by a fear once, but has a CC breaker, so it was not a problem. Boiling, blood boils. You see, oh, that was the one. That's the one I said earlier that he line of sighted himself, or the tank line of sighted him for me, so I didn't need to do anything. And on this next one, I just sat here and took it because I wanted to take it like a man and then spawn an ad to annoy the group since the fight was already over anyway. There it is, bone theft. Nope, I'm gonna take it. As you see, even spawning an ad doesn't really matter. It's not like it's a powerful ad that kills you, but yeah, that's it. Ragnoth the Despoiler. Ragnoth the Despoiler is the 5th boss. In normal mode, I believe he's the last boss, but here he's the 5th and next to last. And this guy, you know, the first time I ever fought this guy, we had a lot of trouble with him. And I think it was, I don't know if it was just that we got bad luck with the pillars or what, but here we really cruise through him. We're actually going to make him look easy here. So I'm not 100% sure if I should consider him easy or hard, but he's harder than most of the stuff here. You really do have to pay attention to what you're doing. So anyway, the main mechanic, and really 90% of the fight, is this thing that's happening right now, where he says the Ragnoth the Despoiler calls for the flames, and the ghost of King Ilium appears and casts a protective thingamabob on one of these torches, on one of these flaming anvils here. And what you got to do is go stand in the thingamabob. Pretty simple, but the problem is he can spawn at any one of these random thingamabobs, so you got to be in position like we are now to run to it quickly. And God, I love having sprint. Sprint on a 21-second cooldown. It's so OP as a marksman. And this time we got lucky to see he spawned right next to me. That was just luck. But if he had spawned all the way across, I'd have to have sprinted because he does snare you. So I could see this actually being, you know, maybe that's just why we had a hard time. I wasn't sprinting. I didn't have marksman spec and reasons like that. And maybe we just got unlucky with the spawns. But here, God, we really own this. And that's the whole fight. Now, keep in mind that everyone, including the tank, has to run into the light, or else they'll die from this AOE. And it's a really nasty AOE. And there it is again. You know, not hitting us, and we're being saved from the damage by the light. But the tricky part is after the tank runs in and the guy casts a spell, the boss is going to chase the tank, and then everybody's going to be in melee range of the boss, which is a bad spot to be in because he cleaves. For some reason, we have someone meleeing the boss like right in front of him. I don't know why he's doing that because he's taking cleaves, but obviously it didn't matter enough. So there we go again. Calls for the flames. We go stand in the circle. No problem. But anyway, he runs it and cleaves the group, including the healers and the mages and all the other squishies. So that's not good. But what you can do is try to charge if you have the ability to actually charge in combat like that. Charge the boss and hopefully get to him before he can run. Like charge him the instant he finishes casting, and get to him before he can run into the group. And also, as a group member, you can time it so you can run the hell out of there and before the boss gets there. And what you saw there was I just screwed up and took the long way around for some stupid reason and actually got hit by the AoE, but it took about 75% of my life, but I made it into the circle before the dot killed me. And yeah, that's the whole fight. That's Ragnoth. Totek the Ancient. Totek the Ancient is the last boss and arguably the hardest boss, harder than Ragnoth, I think. And the deal with this guy is he's this big two-headed ogre, or excuse me, Etten. At the end of this dungeon, he's in this little cave, and I don't believe he's in normal mode. He's only expert. But anyway, the deal with him, he does a lot of damage to the raid, to the group, and not just in melee range. Although a lot of it's in melee range. You see, we do have a melee here who is going to get damaged quite a bit. But what happens is the boss just goes through various enrages and just like freaks out, like right now, this Ancient Fury thing, and just pounds the heck out of the ground, which makes life really bad for any melee or the tank. And he also knocks back the tank, which is not good. And we actually wiped once on here when the tank got knocked back around a corner and was out of line of sight. So as you can see, I've actually switched to Bard for this fight. I highly recommend that because the group takes a lot of damage, takes a lot of random damage from his abilities, his knockbacks, and everything else. And it's not so much that you need to do something to line of sight it or whatever. You know, there's not some gimmick you have to do. It's just you have to outlast it. You have to heal through it. You have to stay alive. And your melee, if you have them, have to stay out of this AoE. And that's it. That's the fight. So it's simple, but it's hard. I mean, there's a lot of damage. There's a lot of people getting knocked around. A lot of stuff can go wrong. So you got to be careful where you're standing, especially the tank. Got to have your back to the wall. Don't turn at a weird angle, and that way you won't get knocked out of line of sight. Now, having a Bard really does trivialize some of this stuff here because it takes a lot of pressure off the healer, and it also gives the healer basically not unlimited mana, but a lot more mana to last forever. It also gives the tank an additional 5% damage reduction, and just makes it a lot easier to survive the big bursts of damage that you get constantly throughout the fight. And I did get knocked back several times during the fight. I'd always prefer if they knocked me back than the main healer, because I don't actually heal the tank, I just heal the group. And I can always heal myself up, not a problem. But usually they either knock back the melee or the damn healer, which isn't good. But as you can see, this one actually did go very smooth. We did not have that many problems, and but as you can tell from the life bars just jumping all over the place, it is very hectic. So I enjoy this fight. I think it's fun. I like this kind of fight. I like this better than the gimmick fights where you learn one or two mechanics, execute them perfectly, and then repeat them 20 times and then win. I like these ones where you're a little more on the edge of your seat, and the boss is a little more unpredictable, a little more dangerous. You know, a lot of stuff happening. Like, oh crap, someone took a bunch of damage. Gotta get my heals off. Gotta maintain my buffs. Oh crap, I got knocked back. You know, that kind of. There you go. And look how much health it did too. Like 80% of my health. It's pretty severe. So I immediately went in and popped a bunch of heals. Popped Versa Joy again. And there you go. Yeah, that's it. Not much strategy. Just don't stay in the AoE and keep your back to the wall if you're the tank, or really if you're anyone. And heal through the damage. Bard is highly recommended. And that's it. So he's about to go down. Almost there. I really like playing Bard, honestly. I know a lot of people don't, but I do like playing it. So I was healing all the way through this fight, but at the very end I used switched to Coda of Wrath. I like to think I got the killing blow, but no, not really. Well, that was fun. But that's it for Iron Tombs, one of the easiest experts. A good place to start. A very good starting dungeon, especially if you follow the guide here for the couple of boss mechanics you got to worry about. Most of it's very easy. Trash is inconsequential, although there's a lot of it. So you got to get used to that. But that's it. Thanks for watching. This is Cromar with TGN.